Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. And for some of you, or many of you, welcome back to the Extraordinary Leader Program. Two special guests today in our master call. This is unprecedented. I know you've heard that word a lot over the last 18 months, but we have a new unprecedented. And what I mean by that is this is the first time in the history of the Extraordinary Leader Program where we welcome our master back a second time right after. In other words, the month after. Never happened before. It may not ever happen again. This is special, everybody. We're thrilled that you're with us. I'm Shelley McDougall, along with Kevin McDonald. And again, we're so excited to have Three and Jackie Carpenter back with us. We are continuing the conversation today on our master call all around their book, People First. We're going to delve into it in just a couple of minutes. For those of you who've joined us that are new or guests with us, thanks for joining in to this call. It's 60 minutes in length. We're going to hear from Three and Jackie throughout this hour, but we want to let you know that the floor is going to be open for much of the call, certainly the second half of the call. So get ready with your questions, whether or not you've read their new book, maybe you've got something to ask about it or ask them about. We want to hear from you. So we'll give you some prep time, get your questions ready to go, and we'll get to hear from you. In the meantime, if you don't mind muting out your sound, that would be helpful. And you'll be able to unmute when we are ready to go with the Q&A. So without further ado, I'm going to pass things over to Kevin McDonald. Kevin, get us going on our master call with Three and Jackie.
Okay, thank you, Shelley. Well, there's sometimes you say we're going to do everything but the kitchen sink, but even this time we've got the kitchen sink on the call with us, which is fantastic. Welcome everyone to our, as Shelley mentioned, our second call with Jackie and Three. And I think the last time, just for those people that missed the last episode, our famous couple was about to launch a book. They were future authors. Or at least they were going to have a book out on the market. Well, that's all changed now. And they now have a book that's selling in stores across North America. And ladies and gentlemen, please, there it is right there. I hope you have your copy. And we are so thrilled to have Jackie and Three. Three and Jackie, how does it feel?
Well, good. You go.
Yeah, no, we're really excited. And sincerely, it's been an amazing thing. I think, some of you guys probably see us on social media, but when the box arrived and there were actually books in it and your name's on it and you physically touch it, it goes from a Word document, which put a lot of time in a Word document, to something that was very real. And, for Jackie, who obviously, really put unimaginable energy and effort and an awful lot of time into the written word and everything that went into actually producing the book. It was a really powerful moment. And we'll just tell you to take that from getting the first book before it came out, and then you go a couple, 3 weeks later, the launch happens, and we'll tell you about that a little bit, to this past Saturday, we went to the local Barnes & Noble just to stand in front of the book in the bookstore to just look at it. We took a picture of it, we're the dorkiest people in the world.
We were freaking out. We were freaking out. Yeah, nice. It was pretty amazing. It's been awesome, Kevin. Just being totally honest with everybody, when we would think about the book coming out over the course of the last several years, it gave us tremendous anxiety. Well, me anyway, it really freaked me out. And so to actually have it be here, it's been a ton of emotions. As Three said, we've cried tons of times, excited, happy tears. And it's been actually really fun talking about these messages of the book that we spent so much time talking about with each other and with our agent and kind of a small group, to really have other people reading it and hearing about it. And it's just been really fun.
Well, we've gotten to speak a couple times. We've gotten to do some things. We've gotten to do a number of podcasts, one in Australia. We've been able to do the EL program twice, which is unbelievable. We've had the incredible opportunity to be interviewed. We just yesterday got word from our publicist that Ariana Huffington just grabbed one of the interviews that we did and put it up on her website. So we know that got a tremendous amount of coverage. And we've had, our friends and our peers show us their book, and they've circled something, or they've written something, or they've said, man, this story about Tyler really meant something to me. And, for us, those stories meant a lot to us. but you know, you don't know if anybody else is really going to care. So that's been a really big, nice set of moments over the last couple of weeks.
Nobody has told us that we shouldn't have wasted our time yet, which, I'm sure that's coming at some point, but we haven't had that yet. So it's been an awesome ride, and truly people have been so supportive and so grateful. We got to share our message at the KKNW Summit the day before our book was released to the world, and to a bunch of our club manager friends, and it was really special, and everybody was just really nice. I don't think we could have asked for a better way to release our book into the world.
Well, in a quick, full circle moment, a lot of this happened because of our dear friends, all of them. But then one of our very dear friends is Tommy Spalding. And I've got this great picture. The books that were being given out from the speakers that were at the KKNW Summit, we were the first speaker, so our book was on top. And the last speaker with a book was Tommy Spalding. So the 4 books are stacked together, and there's our book with Tommy Spalding, and that was powerful stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Well, I haven't even told Shelley, but many people here know that we celebrated Shelley's birthday last Friday. And I don't know if she knew that Jackie and 3 came for that celebration. And it was so wonderful to have you both on Coaching Gyms after the last time you spoke. And then to have you come on Friday and really find out from people on the call what you can give and what can you do better, and what messages do they need to hear. And so I hope you got a lot from that. And little plug, I hope you come back to some of the Coaching Gyms this week as well.
Oh no, it was so powerful, Kevin, and we had so much fun talking to everybody, and to be able to celebrate Shelley was really awesome. So we had a great fun, and then everyone was nice to talk about the book and some of the things that we've been working on.
Well, last month we mentioned that when you became published authors and it was real and those books were in the stores, that you might change or your world might change. Have you noticed any changes?
Yeah, we don't have time for this anymore.
Oh, they're big deals now.
We don't do free appearances anymore.
Kind of a big deal, are you?
Kind of a big deal.
No, really. I mean, we feel the same, and we have to remind ourselves that we're authors sometimes. And when people say it, we're like, oh wait, that's true.
Okay, I have to tell you guys this only because I love all of you, and I know a lot of you really well. I haven't even said this to Jackie, so I'm going to turn so red. It's been very exciting. I don't love social media, but I always click on it at night or do things. And LinkedIn has really been fun because there's been a lot of social media stuff about what's going on, but a lot of nice responses, from our friends and other posts. And that's been really rewarding. So the other day I had to look up LinkedIn on my computer. And when I was doing it, I thought, geez, it said Crow Valley Golf Club, and it said the owner of, 3C for Leaders. And I thought I should put author next to it, and I went to type it and went to do it, and I got it all ready, and I was about to change it, and I was like, I don't know, and I chickened out and actually didn't do it. And it was so funny because I'm sitting all by myself going, you are such a dork that you feel this way. So anyway.
Well, and it's funny, for the people that have just come on, before Shelley and I were alone with you, we found out that things have changed for them, because after they put the kids to bed and they're exhausted, then they have to stay up and sign books into the wee hours. So
you can't believe how much fun that actually is, sincerely, because really, honestly, a lot of our friends in the industry have, wanted us to send them out to their staff, and they're sending us the names of the staff, and we can write a note and then we sign it. And it really has been fun. Like, I can't tell you how actually cool that has been.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we are really hopeful that there's lots of people on the call right now that have got questions, perhaps have read some of the book or all of the book, have some questions about your concepts or your stories. And obviously, we love to hear some more stories from the book, or ones that didn't make it to the book. But what Shelley and I really want to know today is, how do you put it into action? What is your what if now that people have the theory, and what are you doing, or what have you noticed about how to put this into action? What would you like to explain?
Well, we'll tell you a couple stories, and I'll pitch it to 3 here in a minute to share a couple stories that are in the book. But Kevin, we've just heard so much over the last several months of all the, for sure, club industry people that we've been around, and even some outside of the club industry. People are tired right now. I mean, people are overwhelmed, they're stressed out, they're burnt out. The pandemic is still going. There's supply shortages here and there. You can't find people. You're working a ton, and there's no end in sight. And I think that is overwhelming in itself. And so when we've gotten the opportunity to be on coaching gyms and to kind of talk with people, that's just the recurring theme that we hear. And when we were talking about what we wanted to kind of share today, and it is really comes down to a couple of things that we hope people take back to their clubs. We believe that people have gotten a little bit lost. Not right, wrong, good or bad. The pandemic has just kind of made us lost. We've been pulled away from each other. We've been told to, stay away. We have to keep our distance. We can't have, close meetings and, encounters at work, or we're not supposed to. We're doing a lot of things over Zoom. It's a weird time, right? And then also there's this labor shortage. So everybody's got more things to do and all this stuff on our plates. And so it's just been, it's a weird time for people. And so what we want for sure to send everybody on this call is some energy and some inspiration to take this back to your clubs, to your teams, to your peers, and be able to kind of create a better place and to kind of bring energy from that.
Well, and just real quick to quote, two unbelievable philosophers in our life, Kevin McDowell and Shelley McDougall, we would say to you guys, to have intention, right? And so, we're all busy. Every one of you on these calls are busy, and with COVID and all the things that are happening, in our society, we're even busier. We're doing more with less. And the reality of what Jackie said about we're all wiped out, we're tired and everything else. The problem is you're like, I got to do all these things. I got to do all these things. I can't take time to do some of these basic things that really, really matter. And so what we would say to you is to have intention, to go have intention, to focus on what really matters, which is your employees. When you focus on those employees and you create that kind of culture, everybody's working better together. Everyone's having more fun together. And with that sort of power of that team, man, it's rewarding to be there. You're feeling better. Everybody has a different energy. That whole thing changes. So we would tell you, no matter what else you're doing, prioritize with intention your employees. Everything else is a distant second.
Yeah, and people are really starving for connection. I mean, that was the crux of our book, and sort of accidentally or a higher power, connection is the one thing right now everybody's really starved for, because we are so busy and we are tired. So people aren't having those like in-depth conversations. We're not really dreaming. We're not really doing any of those like energizing things. So we've got to find a way to weave those in. And sometimes we think, oh, I don't have time for that. But the truth is you really need to make the time, because that gives you energy to do all the other stuff on your list, right? So this notion of pure human connection is really the crux of everything. And it's the foundation of our book. And we'll kind of give you this story, and I'm going to let Three tell the story of where we kind of brought the book and what we sort of used as our visual representation of pure human connection. And it's a beautiful story, and it'll make us cry every time. So just in case you hear us choke up, we're just going to forewarn you. The people on the coaching gym last week got to see Mallory and Julie got to hear us cry about it already. So anyway, Three, why don't you tell them about our example of pure human connection?
Well, so the visual representation is the University of Iowa and the football team that exists there. So over the course of the last few years, the University of Iowa made the decision to build a children's hospital absolutely 50 feet from Kinnick Stadium. And Kinnick Stadium holds about 70,000 people for college football. And they built it tall enough to be able to physically look over, and in the very top of the children's hospital, they built a floor they call the press box, and it's a common gathering area for all of the families and the kids. So the rationale for this was that during the game, an idea came from one of the fans that at the end of the first quarter, that everything would stop. So in between the first and second quarter, the world stopped. And it is unbelievable to see you guys. And I get to go to the games and I watch it on TV, and it's just amazing. The referees stop and they get in a line and they stand together and they wave. The other team turns and everything stops no matter what's happening, and they all wave. And 70,000 people wave in unison, because at that moment, the only thing that matters is those children and the life and death struggle that they're fighting with absolutely every second. Coach Kirk Ferentz, who is the football coach at Iowa, does a brilliant job in a number of interviews talking about the fact that, look, we're playing a game down here. We're here having fun. Those are the real heroes up there, and we can take the time to recognize them. And I'm telling you guys, it doesn't matter if you're there with little kids. It doesn't matter. My mom is in her 80s. Everybody is so overwhelmed by the moment. And then when you see the interviews with the kids that are up in the hospital and with their parents and with the power and what comes from that moment, the number of parents who say it's the thing that got them through all of that time at the hospital were those moments where pure human connection mattered, and we mattered.
Yeah. People, I mean, everyone looks at those kids up there and says, like, we see you, you know, we're thinking of you. And this is where the emotional part comes in for us, Kevin, is, you know, we have little kids and we can't imagine what those people are going through up there. And so we love this example so much, because it's something I think anybody, whether you have kids or not, can equate to. And we love it because it costs nothing. It costs nothing. And it literally takes like 1 minute, 1 minute where all the distractions, everybody puts their phones down. Nobody's, like, literally every single person, whether they're a player, a fan, a coach, a referee, a cheerleader, and they all look up and say, we see you. And that is something that we think equates to our lives in our clubs, and what we're doing every day is, if we can find ways to show people, like, I see you, I hear you, I am noticing you, I'm here with you. There is energy in that, and there is power in that. And yeah, we cry when we see moms say, like, for a few minutes, we weren't alone here. You know, we weren't alone here, and that meant the world to us. That is pure human connection at its absolute finest.
I love that. I've been to 2 college football games in the United States, and one of them was at Kinnick Stadium, and one of them was, I saw those kids, and very moving.
Yeah. So we think if people can try to just stay focused on that, right? And with your employees, even your colleagues, I think, Julie, we talked about this, you know, last week on the coaching gym of, you know, we see that our department heads or our people in our departments, or our supervisors and our managers are frustrated and they're tired. And to just look at them and say, hey, how are you doing? What can I do to help you? What do you need? What do you need? And figure out a way to help them with that. I think we can energize people and have an impact beyond just showing up there and doing the stuff, right? Just checking things off the list. I think if we shift to that connection piece in the relationship, it's much more powerful.
Well, I think the energy goes both ways. It's not just the kids that are getting it, it's everybody that gets the chance to wave. And every leader that gets a chance to just stop for a moment and see how their people are doing. It sounds so simple, yet when people see themselves as busy, they may not do it. So thanks for saying that.
Yeah. Then the other piece, Kevin, and we'll share this, another story from the book. This was something that was kind of Three's brainchild. And we think that there's power in this too, for people to take back to their teams, but this one takes a little bit of courage to do. It's a little bit deeper of an exercise, but we think we wanted to share it today when we were talking about bringing people first to our teams, because we've had the opportunity to experience a team that Three's going to tell you the story here, but it got to experience a team like this. And we both would tell you that it's been unparalleled in the rest of our careers, and we'll forever cherish this opportunity. But it's the theory of the Knights of the Round Table. And so we're going to share this with you and see what questions you have. Go ahead.
So in 2005, we were really doing really, really well as a club, and our team was functioning really well, but we were getting stale, and like it was frustrating for me. And so after conference, I was really inspired by conference and the trip and how I felt. And so when I came back to the club, I've been on that long plane flight trying to dream up an idea to create a more passionate, collaborative leadership model that would create a group of people that knew that they were working together for one another. Working for the entity is really not all that attractive, because at the end of the day, it's a building, it's bricks and mortar, and that's just not something that people buy into enough. And in today's society, especially when you look at things with COVID and different generations, you start to look at the idea you want to matter and be part of something more important. So the idea ultimately was King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. King Arthur knew that he was the king, and with that, he held the sword Excalibur. So he knew that the responsibility ended with him, but he knew that if he was going to be successful and going to triumph, ultimately he needed to surround himself with the greatest knights that he could go into battle with. So in a way, he went around and he would find the best people that would represent the different things that he would need to be successful. And then he put them all at a round table with the theory that at that round table, even though he was the king and held the sword Excalibur, that those knights all had equal vision and opinion on how they would work in a collaborative method. I felt that model, even though from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was a perfect idea of collaborative leadership. So much so that I spent all kinds of crazy time going out and finding the sword Excalibur and buying it. I went out and bought matching daggers. There's a legend that each one of the knights carried a matching dagger. I then worked with our team.
They were replicas, by the way, just in case.
They weren't weapons.
He was handing out weapons. Okay.
Okay.
We better clarify.
Good to know. Good to know.
It's symbolic.
Symbolic.
Yeah.
But for the overall idea, I wanted people to actually feel what I was dreaming, right? So I wanted this like real visual representation of this leadership, this collaborative leadership model. So we ultimately created a ceremony, and I invited all the managers. We met in the wine cellar, and we had this very elaborate, almost kind of corny, but ceremony that I didn't know how everybody would react to. I thought they'd be like, okay, Three, you've totally flipped out, like you've lost it. And the reality was people got weirdly serious, because our group wasn't all that serious. And they took it much more seriously probably than I even did. And they started opening up and talking about how they felt and what happened and how it was going to change how we functioned. And I had this funny little moment that happened. The chef used to pick on Jackie unmercifully. And he was this very talented, kind of Boston, big personality. And Jackie's this Iowa farm kid, right? And so he liked playing with Jackie. So he was always rough on her. Well, I will tell you, I saw it happen. One of his people said something snarky to Jackie a few months after we had gone through this entire elaborate ceremony. And I will tell you, George stopped that person dead. You will never speak to her that way. You will never, instantaneously, a completely different thing occurred. And it was amazing because the loyalty of that group, we still talk all the time. We're still very, very close. And we took that collaborative leadership model, we moved it to Dallas. Hannah is sitting here on the call. Hannah was an amazing part of both those teams, because Hannah was a member of the Wakanda team and then ultimately a member of the round table at Dallas. And Jackie and I and Hannah worked together on those different occasions. And I think the power of what came from that model, has been transformative for all of us.
Yeah, when we sat in that room and looked each other in the eyes, it was like, look, when one of us wins, we all win. But when one of us fails, we all fail. And it really changed from people pointing the fingers at each other and pointing out.
They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
They're pointing out other people's shortcomings and other people's mistakes. And we started looking at ourselves saying, what could I have done to help support them? Why did I let that person fail? And it transformed our relationship as not only coworkers, but we became friends, and we supported
Like
one each
dear
other
friends.
and helped each other. And I remember our superintendent admitted that he felt like he was an outcast, and he didn't want to come and tell us anything that was going on in his department because he didn't work in the clubhouse. So he thought we didn't care about him. And our golf pro was fairly new at the time, and he's like, I feel like a jerk. I don't even know you guys. I mean, I haven't even asked you the right questions. So it was just this really powerful moment, Kevin. It was this really amazing thing. And what ended up happening for us is we overcame challenges so much better after we recognized that we were truly a team, and we were committed to wanting to each other's successes as much as our own. And just the example that, Three gave about the chef, he had my back. And if somebody was being yucky to me, he stood up and stopped it, and vice versa. And so it's just this, I think that there's power in what is possible in a club when people see each other, and we can be really working with each other versus for a club.
Mhm. Wow, thank you for both of those stories. And we are going to try to make a lot of space today for people to ask questions, people who have been reading the book, that can ask the authors that we have on the call here with us today some questions. I would just like to say, before, I'm going to make sure that Shelley gets a chance to ask questions, one or two before we do that. But I just want to tell you how I felt, and I can tell you what I heard and what I learned, but what I felt after reading that book. And I think I sent a message to Shelley to this effect, that I just felt like everybody in service ought to read this. Everybody who leads people in service ought to read this book. And I felt empowered. I felt excited. I felt like, in a little way, a small way, I missed being in a club where I could probably use that a little bit more. But obviously in our world, we get to use it too. But thank you for how you made me feel when I read the book. And so I can hardly wait to hear some of the questions. But I do want to turn it over to Shelley, just to make sure before we open things up that she gets to ask you a few things as well.
Okay, well, we'll let everybody get thinking about their questions. Well, I just want to say this, and this is different than 3 or 4 weeks ago when you were here, because you hadn't actually released it, so you weren't official authors. But I want to know, I want everybody on the call today who's with us right now live, or who's listening to our recording. This is what I often have thought about. And I've been around you too while you're writing the book, et cetera. But here's the thing that I want them to hear, and I want to say to you too, is many people, and Kevin and I have met many over the years, who have talked about ideas about writing a book. Many people we know have even taken courses, written books, or read books about it. Many people have done that. Many people have even gone so far as to start writing a book. And what's so absolutely blow your mind amazing is that you two went beyond what most people do. We went past the thinking about it, the hey, maybe someday we'll do it. And amongst all of the everything that's happening in your world and everybody else's world, not only do you write a book, but you write it, finish writing it during COVID, and it gets published and released at this time of this world pandemic. And so I just want you to know that Kevin and I mean, yes, of course, we think the world of you, but what you have just done is something that most people don't actually do. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are now published authors, and I get to celebrate you. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to delve in a little bit. I pulled out a couple of things, but the first one I want to start with is this. And we've been getting these questions, Kevin and I, as we coach managers, work with their teams, et cetera, over this past, especially 18 months, get a lot of questions. And you had referenced it at the beginning of the call about how, of course, the labor crisis is happening. People are, Jackie, you said, stressed out, or they're tired, they're everything. It's just difficult. Days are, managers are tired. Many of you on the call have told us that. we hear you, we get it. And so what I wanted to go to is one of the big pieces. I mean, the whole book is really about this, but one of the big pieces that you talk about, and that is culture. And I want to quote from one of the pages where you said that that a great business leader once said, culture has the shelf life of a banana. Right? In that, because it's so moving, it can change, it can feel great one day and something can happen, and something can happen from the inside, something can happen from the outside. And I look at all of the outside forces that have happened to us, and I wanted to know if you both could speak a little bit about culture, in that so many people in the call, they've talked about, okay, one of the things in the labor crisis is, of course, we got to look at wages, we got to look at those kinds of bottom line pieces. And so many of you are doing that. You're paying more. We're hearing about organizations paying way more than they might normally do or pay. But what I want to ask you is, tell us what else, like besides paying people more, tell us what we can do every single day to create the culture we want, to create the environment, the atmosphere, and the place where people are not just working, as you said, Therese, for the entity, but they really want to be there. Like, how do you get them in and how do you keep them? What could you tell us today?
Well, the big one is prioritizing it, and it's a time thing, because all of us on this call are leaders and we're doing a lot of stuff. But I'm telling you right now, the big thing is you got to block off the time, you got to plan the time, you've got to just absolutely make it your mission that you're going to do it. I can argue that of all the responsibilities that managers at any level have, there's just nothing more important than this employee piece, and especially in today's culture where you're trying to, create something that's really special. In our little market here in the Quad Cities, we're competing against John Deere. I mean, John Deere is one of the largest companies in the world, and they pay a fortune for people to work there in, very menial kinds of jobs. We want to be more interesting than that. We may not be able to offer the same kind of benefits and money, but we've got to be something special. And I think that is something you just absolutely have to focus on. When I took this opportunity in the latter part of 2015, we came to this city with the market or with the idea of coming in and focusing on it, and really did a great job with it for the first couple of years. But in all honesty, we changed our focus halfway through, just because some of the things that we realized needed to happen to make the club more fiscally strong and financially, where we wanted it to be. And we did that. But then about a year ago, really refocused everybody again back to this message, especially with everything going on with COVID. For us, it's an awful lot about focus, and you showing people of all the different 5 steps and the things we've talked about. People need to know that you care and that you're somebody, who is there to make them better. And I look around this sort of digital room and I think about my experiences with Kent and Enzil and Hannah and Eric and John, and I just keep going on and on, Matt, all these people that Meredith, and I just keep doing this. I know so many of you guys so well, but I think about what it means for you and your operations. I was just in a conversation with somebody who had worked with Kent not very many years ago, and how they were made to feel when they worked, with him. That's the kind of thing that we've got to get all the way through our organizations and make it with our boards and everybody else. It is the thing, and everything else is a distant second. But
yeah, it's basically, Shelley, we've got to make work fun. I mean, make work light. And, you can't be having a party and, doing all those things, especially when there's so much to do and people are, overwhelmed with tasks. But what you can do is be supportive and helpful of each other and answer people's questions. Ask people if they have questions, ask what they need help with, and then help them. I think more so than anything, that matters to people. And that is energy giving and uplifting. People don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to feel hung out to dry. So how can we help each other, right? Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody right now should look at Matt Dossey.
Yay!
Because seriously, Matt, no, put your little beautiful child right there. Because Matt's the happiest person there, because right now he's spending time doing something that really matters. And it really matters. I don't know her name, but matters to her a lot, because he's paying attention, and that's pure human connection. And we think that's got to be the focus. And for all of us, that's hard because we're all busy.
Yeah.
This is Emma.
Oh, hi, Emma.
trying to teach her everything that I learned from all of you. So I'm here today.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. Hey, Emma, glad you're with us. She's a keener, Carpenters. Thank you. Because every day, 3 and Jackie, I think Kevin and I have this conversation about, okay, what else can we do? Is it just about the money, but what else can we do? And it seems so simple, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, Shelley, spoiler alert here for a message in the book is, can't we just be people working together at life? Like, can't we just be supporting each other in whatever we're dealing with, and not just the stuff inside our 4 walls, but like outside of it too? Because can we ever really have too much support? Can we ever have too much encouragement? Can we ever have too many friends or too many people that care about us? I mean, we would say no to that answer, right? But especially right now in the world when people are hurting, and the COVID and the supplies and all that, it can be really depressing and drab very quickly. I think right now more than ever, people need that. They need that.
Yeah. One more question around that, and then I want to open it up. And that is, how do you get your senior leaders on board with you? So if you're the GM, that's one thing, or maybe you're one of the senior leaders. How do you get everybody else on board with paying attention on purpose to the idea of culture?
Well, it's given everyone permission, and it isn't about general manager down. It's about everyone sideways and everything else. It's about the permission to actually believe it's okay to maybe not worry about getting something else done, because we've got to focus on this thing first. And I got to tell you, when you really make the case and you think about how important the employee side of that is, I don't know that there's an awful lot of people that can really argue that shouldn't be the primary goal. And in some businesses, there are going to be people that are going to want to fight about the financials and about, the sort of bottom line. In the club industry and the hospitality world, it is people serving other people. So it's an employee experience trying to create an incredible member experience. In our example, the only thing that matters in that model is the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's about, and the energy can really be infectious. And 3, I love what you said. You don't have to be the GM to create the inspiration for people. You can lead this from wherever you are.
Yeah.
Really, really quickly, I worked with 3 ridiculously dynamic females at one of my clubs. This is one of them, and Hannah's right there. And a lot of you guys know Jenny Cawthon, Gwinner now, sorry. And I will tell you something, the number of times those girls who would come into my office, I'll never forget when Hannah had this gigantic change to the way Dallas Country Club was going to be run. And I looked at her thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding. Like, this was so far out of their norm. She wanted to create in a club that was built in 1896 and had 500 people on their waiting list. She wanted to create, and it was her idea. She came to me and said, I want to create the first member relations director position in the history of this club, and here's why. Man, it was brilliant. I mean, it was scary. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I looked at that and I'm like, she's right. She's 100% right. And I supported that. And I helped with Hannah sell the idea. And I mean, it changed that club forever because, Hannah made a case and I supported the case. I think that's really what we're talking about with everybody here.
Make the case. I love it. Okay. I'm going to open things up. So everybody get ready. I'm going to change the view just so I can see everyone. Kevin.
You see the one in the chat, Shel?
Yeah, I see Carrie Julie. I'm going to jump over there in just a second, Carrie. I'll just see who has the first hand up. And if not, you get to be it, Carrie. She's got an internet issue, so I'll read the question. Let's start with that because she is keen, everybody. There she is. Carrie, wave at everyone. There she is. So Carrie said, my question is about step 4 from the book, which is entitled Commitment. And you said that it requires a continued nurturing environment. What does this look like in your club? A continued nurturing environment.
So Carrie, excellent question. Thank you. Well, and what it really means is, so after somebody comes on board at your club after 90 days, it means you don't ignore them and never talk to them again, right? It means you're developing a relationship with your people and the people that have been there, beyond 90 days, right? It's where your education, your relationship continues, and you continue to check in with them. You continue to care about them, recognizing, rewarding them, and maybe even beyond that, kind of like what 3 just said, where when they're bringing ideas to the table, you're going, hey, yeah, that's a great idea. We might not be able to do that today, right now, but let's keep that. Let's keep talking about it. Let's evolve that. Let's see how we can implement it. It's sort of this really nurturing, supportive environment that is this family kind of community. Go ahead.
Well, and you can't ever let it go away. I mean, it has to become your thing. Your club is known, or your business is known for being this entity. It's like if you have a great golf course or any other amenity you might have at the club, those are important, really important. We have great food, we have a great golf course, and that's cool, but we also have to be known equally through all the members, the community, everywhere is having that amenity where we have the best people. And that's something that very fortunately I discovered at my very first interview, and have just made that my sort of theme and mantra for my entire career. And I mean, it's made a difference.
It comes down to, Carrie, creating a positive employee experience from recruitment through retirement. I mean, it's the whole thing. It's really keeping that employee experience positive. And it might even be asking your people what they want, right? And going to them and saying, what do you need? What do you want? How do we help you feel fulfilled and valued and all of those things? Because they probably have way better ideas than we do, you know? Good question.
I love it. Hey, thank you too. Thank you, Carrie. Great question. Okay, we're zipping back to the gallery view here. Who has the next question for 3 and Jackie? Put up your hand, put up a yellow hand or a colored hand or your real hand, anything you want.
And if you don't have a question, if you've read some of the book or part of or all of the book, and you have a story or something that resonated with you, we would absolutely love to hear that. So just share, share what kind of touched you or resonated with you. We'd love to hear that.
Sure.
Mallory.
Who is next? Oh, there goes Matt.
Emma has a question.
Emma and Matt have a question, and then Mallory. So go ahead.
She might
Matt.
speak over me. She hasn't learned that politeness yet, but thank you. Again, since last Thursday or Friday, or whenever we last spoke on the gym, I haven't finished.
Oh, she's taking the glasses.
But I did watch the video of the Iowa Wave, and being a Michigan State fan, and I'm sure Shelley can attest, you know, we need things like that to like other Big Ten schools. One of the things that was very touching to me was the players that they interviewed through the video. They commented on how it wasn't uniting the team or Iowa fans, it was uniting the country. And I thought, you know, in a time like now, that was incredibly touching to me. One of the questions that I asked you on the gym was, you know, in times when we're reporting to boards and dealing with people who are high-powered professionals, whether in the corporate industries and so forth, they may not always see the importance of something like this. How do you sort of navigate through those challenging times to keep the people, you know, at the forefront, and the return on that investment?
For me, I think it's absolutely just making a really intelligent, well thought out case where you're going to those business leaders and saying, look, again, we're in a business that exists absolutely on employees, creating an incredible employee experience to create an incredible member experience. And there just aren't many people that are going to argue with that idea, because each one of those members, decision makers, CEOs, are still all people eating in your dining room, playing your golf course, and they realize the difference between good service and bad service in any form of the club. And it's all based on people, because again, we all have great amenities. These are all great clubs represented around North America. But the joke of the thing is, we all have good golf courses. We all have pretty good food. We probably have good tennis, pickleball, curling if you're in the North. And all those things are a big deal. But the reality is, the people are what sets us apart. And, you know, for us, we frequently have made the case to boards, look, we're going to go out and hire the best people, and we'll find ways to train them to be good at what you want them to deliver. But at the end of the day, it's about the great people. And I got to tell you, even the most stringent accountant-driven CEO, I think, still gets the idea that in our world, it's still about the community piece, right?
Yeah, and Matt, if that still doesn't work, pull out some of the research in our book, because like the numbers show when your employees are engaged, your profits are better. When people are, happy and fulfilled, you're going to have a better result for your organization. So it's not just fluff and rainbows, right?
The stats are out there all over the world.
There's legit statistics there that when you take care of your people and you're investing in your employees, you're going to have a more successful company in the long run.
Yeah, I would say one of the things reading the book, as far as I've gotten, that I've appreciated is just having that data to back it up, because that's been really helpful.
It took me a long time to find all that stuff, Matt, so you use it.
I can imagine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
Whatever
Thank
time it takes to take care of your people pales in comparison to the time it takes to deal with all the problems if you don't.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
Right. And wasn't it Whitney Reed? I think that she said, people will they don't think they have the time to invest in their people until there's no people. And then they have to invest the time in hiring and replacing and all of the stuff that comes with it. Right. So you either put it on the front end or you're going to put it in on the back end. And it just depends on which way you want to focus on it, right? Which one you're going to do.
Yeah, and it's a different perspective when it's on the other end. Exactly. I love it. Okay, heading back to gallery view here. Mallory had a question, and then I see Ken Johnson. So go ahead, Mallory.
Yeah, I don't so much have a question, just as some thank you. The last 2 months of you guys joining us has just been so fantastic, and it's been really incredible for me to see the thread of how everything we've been talking about and the stuff that we cover in EL throughout the year really ties back to this conversation and people first. And so much so is like, I took a screenshot last week of a Instagram story from Cameron Bedell, who was storying about your book, who we met through Nick, through the program. So to me, it's like, it's just very full circle. And I love that there's a connection there. And my copy is arriving tomorrow. I cannot wait to dive in.
Thank you so much.
Shelley, thank you for bringing Culture Has the Shelf Life of a Banana, because that's going on a sticky on my computer because I love it. And I think it's so timely for the culture shift we're experiencing in our organization and with our teams. And I think we all ultimately know how valuable that is.
Yeah. Froze a bit there, Mallory.
Did she get frozen? Yeah, it's the banana piece, Mallory, is, I think we love that example because it helps you remember that, like, you have to stay focused on it, where you can't just stick the banana on the shelf and it's going to be fine for 3 months, right? Like, you pretty much have a couple of days, and it's so easy for us to say, like, oh, if something happens, like, I don't have time, to deal with this, or this doesn't matter, but it does. And we do have to, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a good reality check, right?
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for your comments, Mallory. Fantastic. Kent, comment, question.
Well, first, Three and Jackie, congratulations to the both of you. I just ordered 2 copies of the book just to see you. Michael talked about this a week ago. So I hope you're prepared to sign about 50 or so copies of this that we're going to be ordering here shortly to read for the team.
We'll be happy to all day, buddy.
All right, good. Well, it's funny. One of the things that I get laughed at here is my phobia of bananas. And that's because I am so particular about the color of the bananas that have to be here. Like, there cannot be a single brown spot. So your thing with bananas, that's perfect. I've already written that down. That's going to be used several times. But I couldn't agree with you more about how important people are. And I find it distressing in so many situations how easy it is that people forget, even though they say they listen, they understand that it is people, but yet they talk a good game, but they don't necessarily believe it, right? How do we get people to truly believe that people are the most important thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, Ken, it's thank you for all of your lovely words, by the way. Yeah, I think it's kind of always been the pull, right? And I think it's why more businesses aren't doing it. I mean, Kevin McDonald helped us discover that nothing in our book is rocket science. There is no rocket science in our book. And someone could look at that and go, well, this is old and boring. And we kind of look at it and say, then why aren't people doing it? Like, why aren't people implementing these things if it's not? So, but go ahead, do you wanna end?
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's just getting that message back out there and reminding people, especially as they focused on some other things, that with the pandemic and the way people feel and the whole hospitality industry as a whole, this has to be the primary
Right.
focus. And so it's a lot of education. And I think not just, educating our boards and so forth, but I mean, I think it's our industry talking about it. It's CMAA, it's Kevin and Shelley, it's everybody really jumping into this. I think back to the KKNW event that just occurred, and that was an awful lot about how to help people feel in a different way. You think about the different speakers
Yeah.
that attended that, and it was, again, vastly about the people. Very little was about, just basic tasks that we do. It was really big picture stuff.
Yeah, and Ken, I think the mindset used to be for so long, like people are replaceable, like everyone's replaceable. And today we're seeing people are not replaceable.
Literally.
Coblin, Keebler, and Wallace said if they could print clubhouse managers and assistant managers, like they would be bajillionaires, right? If we could find those people. So when you look at it that way, people are not replaceable. Or, a longtime person at our club that's worked there for 20 years and they know all the members. You can't go hire somebody and fill that role tomorrow with a great server who doesn't know anyone. So I think we have to just draw attention to those types of things that they aren't something that you can replace, right? They aren't just a quick fix.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kent. Awesome. Okay, opening things up. Who else has your hand up?
Natasha.
Oh, Natasha's there. Go ahead, Natasha.
Hi, Natasha.
Hi, I was on the call last month too, and I just thank you so much for being on the call. I'm so excited. I haven't read the book yet, but I'm excited to get it and to read it. Not really a question here either, but I just really love what you said about, having fun and why can't work be fun? And I mean, everything that you're saying is that I've learned from Kevin and Shelley. And, I had a conversation with Kevin before I started my position here back in March. And we were kind of talking about my passion and what that was. And what I've realized is that although, yes, I work in food and beverage, I work in clubs, I love that. But what my real passion is like people and helping people. And so at the end of the day, like, as much as, yes, I care about, the financials or all of those things, at the end of the day, it's all about the team. And, I'm sure you guys know this too, more than anything, but like how caring about people and setting aside everything so that you're there to listen to them. And, my staff aren't going to call in sick and lie about it to me.
Right.
Because they know that I care about them and that I'm there for them. And also I love what you said about, helping people in life and work too, because it's, it's easy to say they have to leave their home at home when they come to work. Yeah, you can't do that. So why can't, work is a part of your life. And so you need to be there for them, and maybe work can become like a safe place for them where they feel that they have somebody to talk to about their problems outside of work. Right. So I think
without question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Natasha, we'll just share a little nugget with you from the book. What we're really saying, and we just didn't want to say this because it freaks people out. You're basically loving your people. You're loving them, right? In a way like a parent or a friend, you're loving your people. And what that really means is you're getting loyalty, right? You're showing your loyalty and you're wanting loyalty back from them. You want them to take ownership of their job. So LO, ownership. You want them to produce value and operate with excellence. Loyalty, ownership, value, and excellence. So when you love people, that's what they're going to give you in return. And that's ultimately what we all want, right? From our people. We want them to stick around. We want them to take ownership of their jobs. Eric's mind is blown.
That's what we wanted. Just make sure we got
Yeah,
Eric.
loyalty, ownership, value, and excellence. But it takes that loving piece. So good for you for loving your people. And you don't have to say that because it freaks people out, but that's ultimately what we're getting at.
Oh, that's great.
I love that.
Natasha, thank you for that. And just so Three and Jackie, well, Natasha, you could be getting a book sooner than you think, because could you just tell Three and Jackie who the general manager is that you work with?
Oh, I work with Jim Hope. No.
Oh, that's awesome. We love
your name
Jim.
might be on the list.
Oh, good. I hope so. If not, I'll go bug him right now.
That's awesome. We love Jim. He's something special.
There you go. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, looks like we got time for one more. I'm going to open the gallery view here, Kevin.
Fish.
Oh, Fish. It's John Fisher. Hey, Johnny.
Sure.
You're on mute, Johnny. So if you
A
unmute,
legend.
he's a legend. Here he is. He's still muted. Can you unmute,
You know
Johnny?
you're muted, Fish.
Yeah, you're muted, Fish. He's working on
I
it.
had
There we
no
go.
trouble. I was racing in from
Hi,
the gym
John.
today, and that's why you got my sync. I don't know what's going on with the computer, but I've got to use it more. So I'm not tired, I'm retired. So anyway, so much respect for the two of you. The two of you have been a team from the beginning of time when I met you at a CMAA conference. So congratulations. I wasn't on the last master call, but I was sitting up in bed reading your book, and my wife came in about 10 o'clock that night, and I've got tears in my eyes because I'm so proud of you.
Oh.
Thank you, John. That means the world to us.
Wow. So anyway, a couple of things. There was so many, yeah, like what you're talking about is so simple, and it's, but the magic is back to what Carrie said there earlier, that how do you get that commitment to it? And the two of you do it because work, there's no work in this to you, and you're that example to your team. And so my aha was, I did an inventory of every single member that I have every year. And so in the winter, in January, February, I'd go through and I'd look at my inventory of members and what their needs are and what their hopes and dreams are. And what you're doing is the exact opposite of what I was doing. Although you were probably doing that, you were writing and documenting the hopes and dreams of your staff, and you knew your staff that intimately and you cared. And so that's the simple answer to what you're doing, is just have a file on each one of your staff of their hopes and dreams and fulfill their needs. Because what I know is that teams are so rare. It's the only time you have a team is when the needs of every team member is taken care of. So that's that thing about the banana and culture. You got to keep the banana yellow, and you do it by touching every one of the team on making sure their needs are taken care of and their hopes and dreams are taken care of. So love what you're doing. And then the second part, back to having a board that's focused on it, is you wrote in the book 11 times the revenue was developed by these teams that delivered and performed. Like, you increased revenue by 11 times over a period of time, of course. But that's what the board maybe needs to see, is the math as it relates to how revenue increases when you've got happy team members and team members that they are serving, as opposed to the staff serving the board. You know, so show them that that's the case. So anyway, extraordinary. And back to Shelley's comment about everybody wants to write a book. Wow, I've got 3 going, I think, that I'll never finish. And
You should hang out with the authors more.
Thank you,
That's so
John. Thanks,
Way to go.
John.
Thank you. You're the
And
best.
another comment I was going to make is that I'm looking at the screen today, and you know, they talk about diversity, but who is showing up here? But it's the women. The women are the people that are showing up with interest and getting it done. So I'm proud of you. We just voted for we've got our first mayor in Calgary now, who's a female. Anyway, proud of everybody on here, not to discriminate against guys, but keep going. So
Denzel said thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you, John. I just want to make sure we honor, Christina had a question, and I thought maybe we could end with this, 3 and Jackie, because this is reality for some people. She's just asking, how do you take, you know, what do you do in terms of creating culture and the mindset when not everybody that you work with has the same way of thinking? So could you just give us a couple ideas? And we're not talking about, maybe you're not the head of the organization or the top or the GM, but when you're in a culture maybe that not everybody thinks that way, what can you do?
I think the biggest thing is education. And for us, it's spending time with those people and really having deep conversations with your naysayers, right? The people that don't seem to understand it. And there have been times, and I say this with great honesty, where very frankly, we had people who weren't ever going to be part of our ultimate solution. And, you don't like to think about it from the perspective of having to replace people, but sometimes that is a reality. I think that I have found, though, in 28 years of being a general manager, that about 99%, quite literally, want to be part of a winning team. They want to be a part of something that's really special. So it's pretty incredible. Even people that have real funny attitudes or sometimes are just kind of negative about the world, when all of a sudden they get a little taste of success and they get a little taste of team and family and they get excited and think, man, I can be part of this. Well, all of a sudden their whole demeanor changes. And that's a real thing, but it's taking the time, and man, it's putting in the time, and even sometimes beating your head against the wall going, I'm going to run that person over with my toe. But like, it just, at the end of the day,
People first.
you keep working at it because it's the right thing. And people most of the time want to be part of a winning team.
We actually were having this conversation with one of our friends, kind of asked us the same thing. Like, I have people on my team that don't get this and what should we do? And I kind of said, read the book, or have them read the book and say, this is what I want for us. This is what I want. I mean, I want a team where this is the things that we're focused on. This is what we're creating. Don't you? And if you don't, I mean, if they don't, then they probably have, they shouldn't be on the bus, right? But I think if you can paint the picture of what's possible, because people don't know that this is possible. They don't know that you can create this kind of environment at work. I think if you paint that picture, just like Three said, people want to be part of that. They want to have a great work experience. They just don't know that it's possible.
Yeah, I love it. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Three, I'm just looking at the top of the hour here, Kevin. And I want to honor everybody's time today. We can't say thank you enough, but I'm going to say thank you to everybody who came here today. And Kevin, while you're closing things up, I just want to put something in the chat area, because Jackie and Three want to invite everyone. So just hang on, don't leave us yet. Just 1 second. Jackie and Three want to invite everybody to their People First Masterclass, which is next week. It's a free 1-hour training on People First. And I'm just going to put the link in the chat area, Kevin, while you finish up the call.
Okay, well, thank you, Jackie, and thank you, Three. Thank you for everybody that's arrived here today. Last month after the call, we had a few visits, maybe not both together, although we had that Friday. Maybe you can come to a coaching gym this week. We would be thrilled if we could continue the conversation. I feel like we could all go another hour with you if we had it. So please do come back for one of the gyms. Everybody, this is our opportunity. If you don't have the book, here it is, People First. Please encourage, anybody that wants to write a book that's in this group today, let us know when you publish it. We'll try to promote it as much as we are doing for Jackie and Three. And we are so proud of the two of you. And you live it and you own it, and we are so proud of you. So thank you, everyone, for coming to the call today, and hopefully we will see you on one of our gyms. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, everybody. We love all you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And thanks for buying the book. We hope you enjoy it.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I put that in the chat area, and we'll send it out to everybody in the Extraordinary Leader, okay?
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Everyone have a great week.
Bye for now.